Medellín, Colombia, the 1980s, the richest city in South America, also the most dangerous. At the center of it all stood one man, Pablo Escobar. He owned the police. He owned the judges. He owned the politicians. And if you refused to be owned, you died. This is the story of what it was like to be a policeman in Pablo Escobar's Colombia. It's a story of impossible choices, of daily terror, of watching your friends get murdered, of being offered a fortune to betray your country, or a bullet if you refused. Welcome to the front line of the war on drugs, where the enemy wasn't just a criminal, the enemy was a king. To understand what it meant to be a cop in Escobar's Medellín, you first have to understand Escobar's philosophy. He called it plata o plomo, silver or lead. Silver meant a bribe. Take the money, sometimes hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, and look the other way. Let the cocaine flow. Let the murders go unsolved. Let the kingpin rule. Lead meant a bullet. Refuse the bribe, and you were marked for death. There was no middle ground, no safe option. Every single police officer in Medellín, every judge, every politician, they all had to make the same choice. By the time Escobar was done, over 600 police officers had been murdered. 600 simply for doing their job. And Escobar didn't just kill them, he paid for it. Up to 2.5 million pesos per officer killed. Being a cop wasn't a career, it was a death sentence. But not everyone took the silver. In the late 1980s, with pressure from the United States mounting, Colombia created a special police unit to hunt down Escobar and his cartel. It was called the Bloc de Búsqueda, the Search Bloc, and nobody wanted to be part of it. The Search Bloc was considered a suicide mission. The command rotated monthly because nobody could survive longer, and there was a strict rule: no officer from Medellín could join the unit. Why? Because Escobar practically owned Medellín. He owned the police force. He owned the informants. He owned the streets. The Search Bloc was assembled from men across the country. They didn't know each other. They didn't know the city. They had no local sources, no informants. Within the first 15 days, 30 of the 200 officers were dead. Escobar's army of sicarios, hitmen, picked them off one by one, on the street, on their way home from work, even at home with their families. And sometimes the killers weren't strangers. Sometimes they were fellow police officers, Medellín cops who had taken the silver. The man in charge of this impossible mission was Colonel Martínez. He was given the most dangerous job in the most dangerous country in the world, and he refused to quit, but the cost was unbearable. He attended funerals almost every day. The police built special funeral chapels in Medellín and Bogotá just to handle the demand. Then, one weekend, while visiting his family, an unexpected visitor arrived at his door, a retired police officer he had known since the academy. The retired officer looked pained. He said, "If I did not agree to come talk to you, they could easily kill me or my family." Then he made the offer, $6 million, from Pablo Escobar himself. All Martínez had to do was call off the hunt, or better yet, continue the work but don't do any real damage. $6 million, enough to support his family in luxury for the rest of their lives. A generous ticket out of this nightmare. Martínez refused. He cursed at his old friend and sent him away. One man, against the most powerful drug lord in history. And he said no. Some officers fought Escobar from within. Martin Suarez was an FBI special agent who went deep undercover inside the Medellín cartel. He lived the life of a drug smuggler, Italian silk shirts, polished leather shoes, a diamond-studded Rolex. He drove golden sports cars and collected up to $2 million a day for the cartels. But he wasn't a criminal. He was an FBI agent gathering evidence. The risks were immense. He fought off a hitman sent to kill him in his own home, and one of his informants ended up in a wood chipper. Every day, Suarez knew he could be discovered. Every day he knew what would happen to him. The cartels would think nothing of blow-torching someone's fingers off, cutting out their tongue, or chopping them up with a chainsaw. He passed by kill houses, buildings where the cartel took their victims. Whenever he passed one, he said, "It sent shivers up my spine." But he kept going. He kept gathering evidence. He helped the FBI capture over $1 billion of cocaine and break up one of South America's biggest money laundering operations. Because sometimes, the only way to fight a king is to become his shadow. But for most officers, the war wasn't fought undercover. It was fought on the streets. And Escobar didn't just kill police officers. He declared war on the entire country. In 1989, he bombed an Avianca commercial flight, killing 111 innocent people just to kill one political target. He detonated car bombs outside police stations, government buildings, and newspaper offices. Between September and December of 1989 alone, the cartel set off 100 bombs. One bomb at the DAS headquarters, Colombia's National Intelligence Agency, killed 70 people and wounded 700 more. People in Medellín and Bogotá went to sleep every night wondering if they would wake up. They left their homes every morning wondering if they would ever come back. And for every police officer killed, Escobar paid up to 2.5 million pesos per murder. It was a business, a slaughter, and there was no escape. By the end, Escobar was responsible for an estimated 5,000 murders, 5,000 lives, 5,000 families destroyed, all to protect one man's empire. But the Search Bloc never gave up. Colonel Martínez never gave up. On December 2, 1993, they finally got their man. Using radio triangulation, the Search Bloc located Escobar hiding in a middle-class neighborhood in Medellín. Escobar and the Search Bloc exchanged fire. He was gunned down on a rooftop. The king was dead. For the police officers who had survived, who had refused the silver and dodged the lead, it was finally over. But the cost had been unimaginable. Hundreds of police officers dead, thousands of civilians, a country torn apart. They had won the battle. But the war had changed Colombia forever. Today, Medellín is a different city. Tourism flourishes. The violence has subsided. But the men and women who stood up to Pablo Escobar, who chose lead over silver, who watched their friends die and kept fighting, they are the reason. They are the heroes we never hear about. If you enjoyed this dark dive into history, subscribe. The next story we tell is even darker. See you in the next one.